Hello, this is Laura Medeiros speaking to you today about dog rescue. I was a dog rescuer in Southern California for over 10 years, and I mainly worked with the Moreno Valley Animal Shelter in Riverside County. I'd like to speak to you today about working with this shelter because there is a lot of confusion about procedures and what needs to be done to save the lives of the animals that are there. One thing that is extremely important to the shelter is that rescuers go on petharbor.com and look first under the section called Lost My Pet. Now, the way that you get there is by typing www.petharbor.com. That's petharbor.com. There will be some categories for you to fill in, and you want Moreno Valley, California. Make sure that you click on just that shelter, and then on the left you'll see, as the screen shows, choose an animal type. Above it, it says change your screen type. Click on there and you will see the section that says Lost My Pet. You will want to click on there. Then you will choose one of the logos for dog, cat, or other. So we're clicking on dog. And then we're going to go down to where it says Search Now. So you click on that. Now up will come a whole listing of dogs that are impounded. This shelter has their information updated at the beginning of every hour. This will allow you to go on and see if an animal is still available and what the specifics are. Now I'm going to click on the first dog's picture. Up comes an individual dog's listing. On the right side, you could just scroll the picture up so that you could read it better. Now on the right hand side, on the bottom, it says click here to indicate an interest in this animal. Click right on that. Now on the top, for this dog, it says so far there are 2 other people who have registered an interest in the dog. However, don't assume that the people will always come. Now scroll down on the right. You will see this menu that comes up. You want to fill that out. And to do that, you go on the right hand side where the arrow is and click on it. It's a pull-down menu. First thing says animal reclaim or potential adoptions. So you want to click potential adoption. Then what you do is you go down with your cursor and fill out all of your information. When you're finished, press the button that says submit the interest. What this does is it sends that information to the shelter. Now, a lot of dogs are unfortunately being put to sleep because rescuers are not doing this. And the shelter is claiming that's why the dogs are getting put to sleep, because nobody's filling out what's called an interested party on that animal. By filling this out does not legally obligate you to take the dog. It just says that you might be interested. This is how some dogs are getting put to sleep before their available date also, as the dogs become sick. Now, if you were to go in and put an interested party on this dog before it became available and it got sick, the shelter has you registered as an interested party, and they would call you before the animal is put to sleep, tell you that the dog is sick, if you could please come in. Now, what has happened with this shelter, very sadly, over the last 2 years or so, it has been managed by a different director. That person has decided that he does not want animal rescue groups to have the daily euthanasia list. Now, this list was very helpful to all of us who were rescuers, because a lot of us like to know if a dog's really getting put to sleep that day. We would come in and save the dog's life. Also, it was really helpful, as the Facebook accounts started going up, that everybody knew a current status of the animal. And you wouldn't be wasting your time networking dogs who were already safe and who you know rescuers were going to get. Facebook pages themselves that refer to the shelter are not the shelter. A lot of people get confused by that. This shelter does not want to have its own Facebook page managed by the shelter. So, what I came up with was, before I resigned from the shelter, I spoke to the supervisor, Dorothy Hahn, and asked her, is there a way that we could let networkers and rescuers, or anybody interested in these animals, know that they were rescued, adopted, returned to their owners, or had a status change without them actually pulling the status and the listing off of the shelter? Because people are panicking, seeing there's a dog they're working on, all of a sudden there's no listing. So what Dorothy and I came up with, and Dorothy was very helpful with this, was she put the words, I've been adopted, I've been rescued, and attached it to the animal's kennel card. Now, another wonderful employee, Margaret Tippy Linney, made beautiful banners that are used to this day and are extremely helpful with everybody, because as the shelter records are updated at the beginning of every hour, you will see that banner. Now, that lets you know you don't have to worry, the animal is safe. They also have designation so that you know if it went to the public, if the dog was returned to their owner, if the dog is being fostered, or if the animal was rescued. If you go and you see that that animal does not have a listing on there anymore, and it did before that day, please call the shelter. Chances are, unfortunately, very high that the dog was put to sleep, or the pet was put to sleep. If the shelter tells you that the animal is no longer there, that means that the animal was put to sleep. Now, in order for the shelter to manage the whole process more efficiently, when somebody wants to rescue an animal, the shelter wants you to send an email directly to the management, and they came up with a special email address, which is rescue@moval, moval.org. And the way this works, because the supervisors, all of them are not there on the same day, and they have varied schedules, is whatever supervisor is working that day opens up that email box, the mailbox for those, and they are supposed to get back to you. If you do not hear from management, please call, and call as soon as possible. These emails are supposed to get to that email box before 6:30 a.m. What happens a lot of times is, unfortunately, due to the schedule of the employees there, if they have people to put the animals to sleep before the shelters open, they unfortunately do that. So you can be putting in a pull request at 10 o'clock in the morning, and unfortunately you're too late. That's why you'll see on Facebook pages, send that request in. Now, a lot of people have missed the deadlines. Very sadly, the animals were put to sleep. That's the number one reason. The other reason is that nobody is putting on the interested party. Now, that has to go on while the animal is in the lost section of petharbor.com. You cannot wait until the dog is under the available sign. So I've always told people, Take a couple of minutes, go through Pet Harbor. You'll be able to tell which dog you might have an interest in or which animal. And please fill it out. That's how these dogs are dying. Nobody's putting interested party on them. The shelter does not have the manpower to call rescue groups and to let them know, hi, we have a poodle. Poodle's getting sick. Can you come and get the dog? It's not going to happen. It's not reality. It's not realistic. This is how the shelter is managing to know that somebody might be interested in an animal. So it's up to the rescuers to do their part to do this so that the dogs don't get put to sleep. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Adopt a Pet section now and show you how I work this. I go change the search type, Adopt a Pet, and if you're working on dogs, click on dog. Hit the search now. And up will come all of the available pets during the day. This is real-time data. There are always new animals coming in here every minute. If they're surrendered by their owner, they will go on to adoptable. Now, here's something else that was always a pet peeve of mine. Nobody listens, unfortunately. These breeds are wrong. Sometimes there's no ages. These animals die because they're in the wrong category. If you see an animal that doesn't have an age or that has the wrong breed, immediately call the shelter and just keep calling them and keep calling them until it's fixed. Because I can tell you, over the 10 years I was with them, thousands of dogs died. They either were not made available when they were in the lost section and nobody knew they were available, or the breeds were wrong. A lot of times they put chow. The dog's really not a chow. They'll put breeds on here and it'll be wrong. It's up to you to call the shelter and to keep calling them until it's fixed, because they are very short-staffed. They don't have the manpower to look at this all the time. Now, if you look here, this animal here, see the nice banner that Margaret made? It's gorgeous. It tells you at the top of every hour every dog or cat or animal that was adopted, rescued, whatever. You click on it, see the words, I've been rescued. Now, as a rescuer, networker, cross-poster, you can tell you don't have to work on that animal anymore. It's great. You don't have to worry. Then you could go on to the next animal. Now, looking down here, here's some more animals. Click on the picture. When you click on that picture, it's going to tell you how many days that animal's been there. Now, this dog has been there since January the 11th. It's now the 29th, 18 days. Okay. Like I said, any animal here can get put to sleep at any time. The vet clinic is not a part of the shelter itself. Those are separate employees paid by the Pedley Clinic, run by Dr. Scott. It's a separate facility. So, their information is separate. If you need work, and another thing that I always tell people, if you're adopting these animals, rescuing these animals, you need to talk to the clinic. Make sure the animal is not sick, and especially that the dog is not late pregnant. This clinic does not call you. They will just abort the puppies, charge you an extra fee, and then you will certainly be surprised when you go and pick up the dog to find out they aborted your puppies. You can also have the shelter side on the clinic yellow sheet paper, write in big letters and circle it, do not spay if visibly pregnant or very sick. The clinic opens a couple of hours before the shelter does. You need to get to that clinic. If you're going to adopt or rescue a dog in the afternoon, call the clinic next door, give them the ID number. Tell them you do not authorize that dog to be fixed if they are sick or if they are late-term pregnant, and make sure that they document it. I can't tell you how many dogs have died, suffered badly and then died, or suffered for weeks because they were fixed when they shouldn't have been. Okay, so on Pet Harbor, all you basically have to do is use the cursor back and forth, clicking on the animals, seeing what their situation is, and immediately send that pull request. If you don't hear back from the shelter, please call them again. Too many animals are dying at this facility. If you don't know who I am, I have fought them for 2 years. A lot of things are causing sickness. They won't address the problems that I've outlined or get back to me. It's extremely sad and frustrating. I offer to fundraise for free to have 5-in-1 shots, microchips, and Bordetella shots done on all of their residents' animals before they ever got into this shelter as a preventive measure. It wouldn't have cost them a penny. Their answer, no budget. Everything I try to change at the shelter didn't work. And because of it, animals have died. And they're going to keep dying unless people start complaining, documenting, getting together, and opening your mouths for change. It's one thing to go on a website or a Facebook page and complain, cursing people out, blah, blah, blah. It's not the employees doing it. It's upper management who is making these really bad decisions. They're not cost effective, they're not the right thing for their residents, and they're certainly not the right thing for their animals. Their animals are laying on wet floors, one bed if you're lucky, 5-6 dogs piled on top of each other. There's coccidia, giardia, distemper, parvo, and other diseases going back and forth in between these dogs. You need to get them off the floor. These dogs who are badly needing grooming, the mats are stuck to their skin. They have urine burn. They have paw burn. A lot of the rescuers can't get the yellow off of the white poodles. This shouldn't be this way. If you're a rescuer, you should be fighting to change these things. You are spending thousands of dollars on dogs because they're sick and they're suffering. And I can tell you, because I've established relationships with many, many people over all the years I've been doing this, this is the worst this shelter has ever been. If you'd like to send me an email, my email is dogsneedhomes@aol.com. I also had a Facebook page up till a couple of months ago when I resigned. It's still up. Moreno Valley Animal Shelter, dogs running out of time. The very 2 last posts are 2 extremely extensive audit reports of the shelter itself. I sent those to shelter management, city management, the mayor, council members, everybody I could think of to try and get these things changed. They didn't even have the decency to email me back. The one time I emailed weeks later after the first report, was told no budget for anything. The conditions at this shelter need to change. The only way this is going to change is if you rescuers document, get back to me, and let me know if you want to pursue this, because I'm not done with this shelter. This shelter needs to change, and it's causing the death and suffering of animals, and the rescue groups are incurring thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that they didn't have to. So I hope that this has been informational for everybody, and I look forward to any response at dogsneedhomes@aol.com. Thank you so much for all the work that you do. Sometimes people don't mention how much they appreciate it. I certainly do. I've done everything I can to lower the cost for rescuers, adopters, the public. Every time I was up there, I worked there almost every day, driving from San Diego to Riverside County. I did everything I could to get these dogs out, and it's extremely sad for me to see that I wanted to help these dogs, and they still came down with really bad life-threatening diseases because this shelter wouldn't allow me to fundraise for free. Thank you.